Hey everyone, this is Nicole from What CP Looks Like. It is Thursday, so you know what that means. It's time for another Facebook Live chat. I want to give some people a few minutes to join us, and I also want to say Happy Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month to all of you. I can't believe March is almost over, but I know so many of us are working so hard behind the scenes to try to get it recognized in the media. I know that I may have been successful with one of the channels here in South Florida, WPLG Local 10. One of their longtime anchors answered me back, and she said that she's going to try to mention it this weekend, and she's also going to pass my note on to her weekend anchors so they can announce it as well. So I am literally crossing my fingers that I hear it this weekend, or somebody tells me that they hear it, or I see it, because I'll try to watch the news as often as I can this weekend. That would just make me so happy, because I have been sending emails, I have been tweeting people, and I know that my friends Heaven Ramsey and Rochelle Heath, between the two of them, they sent like 400 emails, 400, and they were lucky if they got a handful. Really, it was probably less than a handful of replies back. So it's very difficult to even get people to reply, and it's frustrating, because if they can help, great. I hope that they would reply back. If they can't help, that's fine too, but just let us know that you received our message and, you know, wish us well or something, but just not to hear back from people. It's discouraging, but you know us, we don't give up anytime soon. We won't be, so, you know, and we will keep it up so that we have a head start for October. October 6th is World CP Day, and we'll also have a head start for next March, a year from now. So hopefully we will hear about Cerebral Palsy Awareness Day, which is March 25th, and Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month on the news next year. That would be great. That would just be fantastic. I did get an idea from someone last night. For those of you who are in high school or middle school, or parents who are watching and you have children in school, you could approach your school if they have a PA and they make announcements over the school system. You could provide them with some information about cerebral palsy, or just a general statement that March 25th is CP Awareness Day, and let's support our student and give your child's name and ask people to go green for CP and kind of start a movement at your school. That would be cool. That's one idea. If you guys are looking for ideas to try, that might work. So I just wanted to give you a little update on that. And I'm also trying to get on the Today Show with Hoda and Kathy Lee. I made a video for them because they're looking for their biggest fan, and they're going to be selecting 5 viewers, and the 5 people can take a guest with them. And of course, when you send in your video, you have about 500 characters to describe it. I actually wrote an original poem for them, and I performed it, and in my description I told them about CP Awareness Day and asked them if they would announce it on their show. So I take every opportunity to raise awareness wherever I can, because otherwise, you know, then it's just me and my friends doing this, and we need it to go national, and that's what we're trying to do. I want to welcome my friend Tara, who I see is here. My guest for tonight, Kathy, is here. You guys are going to love her. I know I have a lot of new people on this page since she was my guest last October. For those of you who were with us then, you'll remember that she talked to us about how to be confident and successful when it comes to dating with a disability. Tonight, though, we are going to be talking about a very serious topic. And before I forget, please, guys, would you hit the share button and share this out? Because Kathy was nice enough to create an event page but Facebook blocked me earlier today. I can't send any invites. It said I was trying to send them too fast, and all I did was like click one button, and before I knew it, I was blocked. And of course, if I knew I was going to get blocked, I wouldn't have done whatever they thought I did. So whenever I post on the page, particularly when it's for a Facebook Live and I ask you all to share, could you please share it? Because if no one knows about it, it's really hard for me and for Kathy to get an audience, and that's what we're trying to do. And you're welcome to post it in if you're a member of any of CP groups or any groups that you're a member of. Please go ahead and post it, because that's what I do, but I don't want to go in there all the time posting the same information. So please, right now you'll see a share button on your screen. Please, all you have to do is click it. That's all I'm asking you to do. We'd really appreciate it. So tonight I will be talking to Kathy about why people with disabilities are sexually abused at a rate of 7 times higher than that of the general population. This is something that Kathy is passionate about. She has written about this on her blog, and she has actually done Facebook Lives on her page, Radiant Abilities, to raise awareness about this, especially since the Me Too movement was created. And while we are very happy that women and men or anyone who is being abused, they now feel that there are people behind them and they can use the courage that they have to speak out, because people will listen now more so than they have in the past. But that also includes people with disabilities. That's something that nobody's talking about except Kathy. So you guys know that I like to bring on guests that not only happen to be my friends, I have some really cool friends. Most of the time, the guest will have cerebral palsy, although it's not a requirement. Kathy does have CP. And I also like to bring you topics that I feel no one's really talking about on the internet or specifically on Facebook Live, and that's what I'm doing again tonight. So I'm going to bring my friend Kathy on. She is the founder of Radiant Abilities. She's also a mental health counselor. She is a mom. She just is a wonderful person, and I can't wait to introduce you to her. So I'm going to invite her now, and you will see her pop up on the screen. Just give me a second. And then we should see her right about now.
Hey, Nicole.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Happy spring, although it's probably snowing where you are, isn't it?
Well, it won't snow until tomorrow, but we have snow on the ground like it's in December. So we don't have spring yet. For those who don't know, I'm in upstate New York, the home of the eternal winter.
Oh, no. I don't know how you do it, my friend, but I'm happy that you're able to join us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. And thank you for all you're doing. My gosh. Do you sleep in the March? Because you all over social media.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I do sleep, but it's kind of like, what do you call it? With like a last push, we have CP Awareness Day coming up on Sunday, and just trying to get somebody to pay attention, just like what you're trying to do with regards to the topic tonight. But before we talk about that, I wanted to get your take on CP Awareness Month, and what are some of the things you're doing on your blog and your website to help raise awareness?
Well, what I'm doing is on Sunday, CP Awareness Day, I'm coming out with my blog. I usually don't put my blog out until Tuesdays, but I'm coming out with a blog about 10 ways that I live my life with cerebral palsy and my relationship with cerebral palsy, because I think of it as my lifelong companion. It's always with me. So essentially what I have learned from living with cerebral palsy. So,
I
and
look forward to it.
can I just say a shout out? I see a bunch of my friends that I grew up with are on live also. So I want to say thank you guys.
Thank you and welcome. I can't see all of your names, but anybody, if you put your name in the comments, I'll be happy to shout you out. And for those of you who don't know, I'm Nicole Luongo. I am an author and a blogger. My work has been featured on HuffPost, on the Mighty, on Yoocan. I have my website is NicoleLuongo.com, and I raise awareness for cerebral palsy and also for the life-changing surgery, selective dorsal rhizotomy. And if you'd like to know more about that, I have an FAQ page on my blog all about that, with all the links of where people need to go to contact Dr. Park or learn more information. It's all there. And we're happy to have you here. So Kathy, tell us about your blog post, which was the inspiration for me to have you on, the one where you talk about the fact that people with disabilities are sexually abused at a rate of 7 times higher than the general population, and that NPR actually did an expose on this.
Yes. I'll put the link to the whole NPR series in the comments, but it's a series of, I think, 6 or 7 pieces about how nationally people with developmental disabilities, which could be anyone with a disability who acquired their disability aged 22 and under, they are sexually assaulted 7 times more than the general population. And if you think about what's happening with the Me Too movement, imagine if the general public, if people were assaulted 7 times more than they currently are, the outrage, yet we don't know about this.
Exactly. And with people with developmental disabilities particularly, a lot of times they can't speak up for themselves. They can't speak out for themselves. So if you think about it, that rate might be even higher. We don't know.
Right, exactly. And they did talk a lot about how people who do not verbally communicate are the most victimized, because the perpetrators will seek them out simply because they can't talk and they can't report what happened.
Yeah, I watched a couple of the pieces, and for the most part, they're very short. So those of you listening, I have shared the link on my page, and we'll share it again. I encourage you to watch it, because it's, as you know, any NPR production is going to be done very well. Number one, and number two, they give it to you in bite-sized pieces, so you know you can really get a sense of what's going on and learn about it in just a short amount of time. Kathy, I wanted to ask you, what was your reaction when you saw that they were talking about this? Like, were you surprised given the field that you work in? Had you heard that statistic before?
Well, it's funny because a few months before that came out, I went to one of the vaccine conferences that I ever been to, where it was a man he has his PhD in disability studies, but he's a sexual investigator for crimes against people with disabilities. So I was already aware of the seriousness and how it doesn't get talked about. I was not aware of the number 7 times the population, which is something from the Justice Center that
Right.
they had compiled the statistics.
I wasn't aware of it until I read your blog post.
Yeah, and to me, that's the most serious element that this is happening. And I honestly, I equate it to the 1960s, 1970s, when people were institutionalized and abused, and no one did anything.
Yeah, it was like, oh, they just turned a blind eye. They knew it was happening, but right. And before we forget, we'll put the link up to this again, but Kathy created a special download. Why don't you tell us about that, Kathy?
Yes, well, my thing with the whole topic of people with disabilities, the sexual assaults, is we need to take a step back and look at our whole baggage that we have about not talking about sexuality with people with disabilities. And I truly believe it's that's a great frontier for disability rights, because so many people are resistant to even talk about it.
Yep. Yeah, we talked about it last October, and we really hit a nerve with people in the disability community, because those of us who have any type of disability, we know that we're just like everyone else. We want to be loved, we want to love, we want to have intimate relationships, and it's our right to have them. But for some reason, society is still way behind the 8 ball. And like, I think it was one of the people who was featured in that NPR series where they said that, like you said, nobody wants to talk about it. Like they don't think of us as people who will find love, be in love, have sex, be in intimate relationships.
Right, and what happens is many times people with disabilities don't get taught, don't get experience, so that then one or two things can happen. They either seek out information, maybe in unhealthy ways, because no one is talking to them, or they are victimized because that's the basic sexual predators are very smart in knowing how to choose the victims.
Yes.
So, back to my download. One of my passions is not just talking about the whole topic of sexuality and disability, but how to have healthy sexuality, how to feel good about yourself, how to have good boundaries, because when we have good boundaries, we're less likely to be victimized. So the download I have goes through talking about basic general beliefs about relationships, and then moves into kind of addressing the big elephant, and that is for some of us who live with a disability, because of different body images or how we are affected by our disability, we can struggle to feel attractive, which is a very important part of sexuality. So I have a reflection exercise for that. And then working to affirmations, which are helping to condition yourself to believe more positively in your sense of sexuality, whatever that may be.
Right,
for
right.
you.
And I was hoping that we would get more parents listening today, and anybody who wants to listen, they can always listen and watch the replay. So,
Right.
you know, this is going to be available. You don't have to worry about missing it and thinking that you can't get the information after this airs, because you will be able to. But, you know, specifically for parents, because a lot of people with disabilities have a PCA, a personal care attendant, and it is often that it could be that person who is abusing them, or somebody in their life that they have a close relationship with.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that, and how?
Well, you know, the thing about having a PCA or any type of personal help, which many people do need, is that when you have someone touching your body, it's a way of helping you with daily needs, then it can sometimes be confusing what can be a touch that is uncaring for you and what can be a not so great touch. You know what I mean? Because people who need a lot of physical support are often touched by many people throughout the day. So therefore it can get hard to distinguish, oh, this is a touch I can say no to, or simply
Right, but I'm referring to people who maybe can't verbalize anything, and
right.
they have, you know, their parents, like, are there certain signs for the parents could look out for, that if there's somebody in their home who is abusing their child or adult child, not just sexually, but in any
Right.
way, you know, particularly physically?
Well, I think when someone cannot verbally communicate, it's so important to watch body language, because most of the people that I have worked with who cannot verbally communicate have the best body language in the world, because they depend more on body language and to get their point across. And I think parents tend to be very intuitive with their child. And I know that there are many people who can, you know, put up a good front for the parents and convince the parents otherwise. But I would say the main thing is to watch your child's body language, because that will tell you a lot. So if they're reacting differently all of a sudden around a person, that to me will be a red flag.
That's really good information. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's something that people can take away from that, because sometimes when you're so close to a person or anything, any situation, you know, they're probably so busy with daily life and making sure that their child's taken care of. This might be something that never enters their mind,
Right.
but it's just something that they should be aware of, and just keep it in the back of their mind, because truthfully, you just never know what could happen to anyone at any time. We're not here trying to scare people, but it is a very real issue that's happening at an alarming rate.
Right.
And if people don't even know that it's happening, they wouldn't know to pay attention to it. And that's why we're here trying to shine the light on it, so that people can, if they need help with regard to this issue, they can get help. They can learn more about the signs to look for, like you were talking about, and you know, we're just here to help with that.
Right, right. And I want to say that with people who cannot verbally communicate, that if you watch them and you notice a behavior different, then take note of that. But also realize, and I just gave a workshop here last night on empowering children, and I said to the audience, it is so important that you teach your child to say no. And I don't think we think about that enough with children with disabilities. And even if you can't verbally communicate, there are ways that you can be taught to.
Can you give us an example, Kathy? What do you think we can teach, you know, specifically children with disabilities, to say no to what? What situation would be something they would say?
In regards to our conversation, it's no to a touch, and that doesn't feel good. It's no to someone getting closer, maybe even physically getting closer. And also, I don't think not that I don't think, I think we need to keep in mind that people with disabilities need to be able to say, no, I don't want to do that. No, that's not my goal that you're going to put down on the paper. No, I don't want to go to the activity, and have no be no rather than a behavior.
Why do you think that they're not being taught to say no? Do you think that it's people think that they don't have the ability to distinguish something that's positive versus something that's not positive, or?
Well, a lot of why I'd say that comes from my work as a therapist, working with people with disabilities. And one of the common themes that I work with people on is getting into friendships and relationships because someone paid attention to them, someone liked them. I have had many adults in my office say, well, I'm in this relationship and it's better than being alone, even though I'm not happy. And that's what I mean. If we really gonna empower people, then no should be part of that language.
That's an excellent point, because a lot of times people with disabilities, they don't get the chance to meet as many people and have those types of relationships. So when somebody pays attention to them, they might think it's the greatest thing in the world, and they can't distinguish between something that's healthy and something that's not healthy. And not only that, just like what you're saying, if they don't feel the same way about the person, you have to have a stronger sense of yourself to be able to say no, like you were saying, because even though you want someone in your life, if it's not right for you, and especially if it's not healthy, it's better to be alone.
Right, exactly. And that's what I am working with a lot of people. And I will say, I have worked with both the men and women. It's not a gender specific issue that sometimes, and I'm not saying this about everyone living with a disability, but sometimes people feel like I need to like this person, or I need to be with this person, because it's ultimately a sense of worth.
Yes, and you do a lot with the work that you do. That's what you do. You give people resources to live fully with a disability. So it all ties in together, because if you have good self-esteem, there's a greater chance that you won't be another statistic. Now, we're not saying that everybody with healthy self-esteem, that means no one is going to get assaulted. We don't want anybody to get assaulted, but we just want to arm you with the information. And hopefully I want you to visit Kathy's website, because there's a lot of resources there, and she really empowers people. And it's, even though she has experience with people with disabilities, everything she's talking about relates to all of us, whether you have a disability or not. Right?
Yeah, I mean, really, so that, for people with disabilities, it's a little more tangible. But we all struggle
That's right, yeah.
If you're breathing, you struggle at some point in your life with confidence, self-esteem.
Yeah, it's true. And struggling with being accepted, and like you were saying, body image and feeling good about yourself. I don't know a person who doesn't go through any of those things at one point in time in their lives.
Right. And then if you look at media messages, movie messages, we can all take away some negative message about how we're not beautiful,
good enough, or thin enough, or something enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do want to say, and this is all fresh in my mind because I gave a workshop last night, but in my own life, and I have a very obvious disability, but in my own life, it has been always the case that the more confident I have become and the more my self-esteem grew, the more people I drew into my life. Because
the more were they, let's say, the right people?
the
Not only
people, the right people. Because and the feedback that I have gotten from people is that they are drawn to how comfortable I feel with myself, which again I think goes a bit to what you're saying, Nicole, that on some level we are all looking to just be comfortable with ourselves.
And how did you get to be more comfortable with yourself and with your disability?
Well, I would say age helped a lot.
It does.
Age helps a lot, and also, I'll never forget one of my dearest friends, who we met when we were freshmen in college. She said to me, I knew I wanted to be friends with you when we had our initial floor meeting, and you said I had cerebral palsy and I may need help at times. And she was so impressed with how I just came out and said it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's great that you were able to do that, because what I notice is it seems that a lot of people in our community, they want to press on, I can do it, and it's almost like they refuse to ask for help. And I'm just like you, I'm the opposite. I mean, when I need help with something, it doesn't have to be related to my disability or not. I have no problem saying, I don't know the answer to your question, seeking somebody out who might have more information than me, or if I need help with something physically, like if I'm walking with a friend or something and we're approaching a step and I feel it's too high for me, or that day I just don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, I'll grab their arm or ask them for their arm, and there's no issue with that, So I think it really starts there. If you're able to ask for help for yourself, then you're going to be more able to speak up if somebody is treating you in an inappropriate way.
Right, yes. And my experience is, in general, people are more than happy to help.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. People want, they do. They really do. And sometimes, we'll run into people who, there's a flip side where there's people who, they just want to help you. They don't even give you the chance to show what you can do, or they automatically think that you need help when you don't. But that could be a teachable moment.
Yeah.
If people are willing to, instead of like being upset about it, kind of turn it around.
Yeah.
And, talk to the person a little bit about it and educate them. Not in a condescending way, but just so they know, thank you very much, but I can do whatever the task is or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Say, oh no, thank you, I got it.
Right.
So, and I think that in itself is a teachable moment.
Yes.
If they can watch you do something that they didn't think you might be able to do.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the whole purposes of this page, of what cerebral palsy looks like, is to change the perception of the way people perceive us, because there's a whole lot of things that people with CP can do that people think, if when they see it or they read about it, they think, wow, I wouldn't think Kathy could do that, or I wouldn't think Nicole can do that. Well, you'd be wrong.
Right,
You'd be
right.
wrong.
Like,
You had a video of you diving off of a
yeah.
you're diving into your swimming pool. People might think you can't do that. You can, and there's video of you doing it. So
Uh, one one time of summer, I always go off on the diving board for my son who's 6 because
aw.
he gets such a charge. I would see him go, and then the funny thing is, for me, the hard part is actually getting on the diving board.
Right.
We're falling off of it. I gotta get on the diving board.
Exactly. I love that video. It's great. So, is there anything you wanted to say specifically about the NPR series? Was there anything that stood out to you with the information that they provided?
I just want to say, if you're listening, if you're watching, whether or not you have a disability, if you could just begin talking about this issue with whoever in your life, because that's what we need. We need people talking about this issue and becoming outraged and wanting to do something, because and you were very good about mentioning the Me Too movement, but I do wonder, where are people who have been sexually assaulted and who live with disability? Are they really part of the Me Too movement?
That's why we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why we're having the conversation.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that a few things are going on? Number one, it could be an issue of shame. Number two, if it could be people with disabilities who can't verbalize it, so maybe their caregiver, they might know that it happened internally, like within the family, they might know, but maybe they feel shame about it, so they're not going to speak out.
Yeah, I think that it's sometimes in the case. I do think oftentimes even the family will not or cannot believe that something has happened, and maybe part of that resistance is denial because it's so painful to go there. So, and then I do know, because in part of my work, I deal with police, and I do know how hard it is from the law enforcement end to find actual evidence that they can take to a conviction. And,
Right.
and
That, yeah.
it's hard when the assault happens, but it doesn't come to light for some time.
Right, right.
So
What would you say to people who are listening who are able to verbalize? They have a disability, but they're able to speak and verbalize what happens to them. If they're listening and they have had something happen, what are some of the steps that they can take now?
I would say identify one person that you trust in your life that you can confide in to what happened.
What if they don't have anybody, Kathy?
Then I wonder if they have a professional, someone they work with. A lot of times the professionals, when they are told something of abuse nature.
They have to report it, don't they?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Or I mean, if the people that I'm referring to, maybe if they just need someone to talk to about it, like maybe it happened a long time ago and they did report it or they didn't report it, but they just want to talk about it. Yeah, I'm sure there's hotlines that they could call. There's information out there today in today's day and age. There's a lot of info, whereas years ago there wasn't as many ways to get help or to get support for something like this.
Right. I know that like in my community we have a 24-hour crisis line that anyone could call. We have a shelter for people who are abused. So there are resources out there. And if you should live in a rural area, I would say go to your county offices because they usually have an office and that you could seek help from.
Right.
But I will say, in general, even if you don't have assault, injury of assault, but you're struggling in some way with either wanting a relationship, wanting to learn more about relationships, you also find that one trusted person in your life that you can begin to talk about your feelings, your desires, what you envision for your life, because the silence is what the biggest barrier is. We need to talk more about disability and sexuality.
Yeah.
And talk about it.
Yeah. And particularly the people who are disabled, if they talk about it, then it's kind of like a domino effect because, it seems like people don't want to talk about it. But if those of us who are able and willing and we say, wait a second, these are things that we want the same things in our lives that you want in your lives. And we're going to voice, those issues and desires, and we're going to go after them. Hopefully that will help change things.
It's like I said, it's the next frontier of disability rights,
Yeah.
And they actually take I have watched a lot from gay rights and how they have been able to come out, forgive the pun, but out and really kind of equalize things. And they are much more respected today than even 20 years ago. So I think there's a lot to learn there.
What I like to always say, Kathy, is there's strength in numbers. And that's what it's about. I mean, I forget who I was talking to. I think it was Ryan Ragu, who I had on 3 weeks ago now. He was my second guest of the month. He's a para-athlete, Olympic hopeful in London, and he does a lot of advocacy work. And he said that, the disabled community, we don't have like an ambassador. We don't have like one face or somebody who's representing us, and he's right. And we also don't have that strength in numbers where we're all banding together to either talk about a certain issue or create legislative change around a certain issue, or pick whatever it is. There may be pockets of people like you and I are talking about this, and then we won't hear anybody else talk about it, but then we'll hear somebody else in the disabled community talk about another important issue.
Right.
So it's kind of all over the place, don't you think?
Yeah, and my theory, I had no idea if I'm right on that, but my theory is that because the experience of living with a disability is so individualized.
It's true.
Because we all have a different take on what it's like. So therefore we have our own different passions for it. And also, sad to say, I think that the disability population is still silenced much by society, just not wanting to go there.
It's true.
I think there's a fear that, if I go, we are the only population that you can join us at any time.
That's right. And aren't we the largest minority population? I think I read a statistic, like, we make up, I forget what the statistic is, but the number of
I saw a couple of years ago with 26 million.
That's a lot of people.
A lot.
I mean, cerebral palsy alone, 17 million people in the world have CP. I would venture to say that statistic has gone up, but that's the number that is used. It's what's used, but so 26 million. Is that just in the U.S. alone?
I forget. The number came out a few years ago.
Yeah. You bring up a good point. You really do, because and there's a lot of things going on with respect to the government, and they want to slash everything. For people with disabilities, it's really a big issue, and a lot of people aren't even aware of that, and it's just kind of like, wow, I mean, it's gonna, if things go through, it's gonna affect a lot of people, and not in a good way either. So
very devastating, and cause for us to unite more than ever, because we really need the strength in numbers.
Yes. Yep. I agree.
So, Nicole, I do want to say, just about cerebral palsy awareness, how grateful I am for your page, because I really do think you capture something else I'm passionate about, and just people living their lives with cerebral palsy. And I often say cerebral palsy is just a way of life. And that's what you're doing. I'm so grateful that you're doing that.
Oh, well, I want to say thank you for that. And thank you for always encouraging me, because, I've known you for a while, and you knew that, like, I wanted to transition from a blog to a website, and I wasn't quite sure if I could do it, and you always encouraged me. And I finally did that last October, and I finally started sending out newsletters, which you've been doing for such a long time, and you've inspired me with those, and I thought, man, I don't know how she does it. Maybe one day I can send them out, and I've started, to do that, and I hope people enjoy them. In fact, I want to thank everybody who's been subscribing, and I did put the information to our interview in my newsletter this week. I did notice that the link was not correct in last week, so I changed it, and it's correct in there now. So, yeah, and I mean, you do the same thing on your page. Oh, and I wanted you to tell everybody the changes that you made this year. You are focusing on like the 4 seasons of change. Is that what you're doing?
Yes, I have a blog that I put out every week that isn't just about living life with a disability, the struggle, the joy, all that. And this year, I'm taking every quarter of the year to focus on the theme. So that's the first quarter. We are talking about changes and changing, because I think it's so important when you're really living life that it's full of change. Change in what you do, change in what you believe, changing how you believe in yourself. And then we're going to talk about acceptance, because I know that a lot of people do struggle with acceptance of a disability.
Yeah.
Acceptance of being different forever.
Yep.
And just some that self-acceptance. So, we're talking next quarter about acceptance. And then we're going to move into taking risks, because I think that's something else that we don't talk about enough with people with disabilities.
You're right. You're right. And what I like about what you do is it's almost like, even though you have a disability and you talk about it and you write about it, you're just trying to level the playing field. You just want everybody to know that they have strengths and weaknesses, whether they have a disability or not, and people who do have disabilities, that they could have full lives just like anyone else.
Exactly. What I'd say is usually a disability, whether it's CP, muscular sclerosis, brain injury, whatever, it's usually with you for life. Yeah. So why not have the life you want to live? Maybe harder, but or
you might have to do some things differently, or things might take more time, or pick any of those. It still doesn't mean that you can't try if that's really what you want. And even if you might have people in your life who they don't believe in you, but Kathy believes in you and I believe in you. And if you go to her website, radiantabilities.com, you will find resources and downloadable, checklists, or like she said, anything from affirmations to the download that she's providing tonight. These are things that you can take away and you can work on within yourself. Forget about what other people think that you're capable of. It all comes down to what you believe about yourself and you fighting to live the life that you want. Because nobody can take away your dreams and your goals. They can't take those away from you. They might not believe in them, but as long as you believe in them and you do the necessary things to achieve them, you can do it.
Right, exactly. And that's my ultimate goal, is to just help other people with disabilities. I feel very fortunate that I have created a life that I'm very happy with, but it really took a lot of work and determination to get here.
Yeah.
And I want to give people encouragement because I know it's a long road at times.
Well, that's another thing that's missing in our society. You know, a lot of times the encouragement just isn't there. So you have to seek it out. And we want you to know that we believe in you, and both of our pages are open to everybody. You don't have to just have cerebral palsy to come to my page and Kathy's page. You don't have to have a disability. Her information really, anyone could learn from it. Now it is specialized for people with disabilities, some of it, but it doesn't mean you can't learn anything. And for the people who are caregivers and parents and siblings and friends, she provides a lot of information that can help those people too, because I know that there's people in my life who know nothing about cerebral palsy, but they think that they do. And that's really annoying, when it's like, why don't you ask me what it's like to try to do something or to live with this, or so you're always going to have people who just, they're stuck in their preconceived notions of what it's like to have CP or how it affects you or whatever. That's why particularly in March, a lot of us are sharing facts about cerebral palsy because there's so much misinformation out there. We're trying to get the right information out.
And I'm a big believer that living your life exactly how you want to live it is sometimes the best education for people.
Yeah. And we know it's harder for some people than others. Some people, it depends on your circumstances. It might be harder, like for me, I live by myself, so I don't have to answer to anybody. I don't have anybody who might, let's say, I don't have anybody taking care of me where they might control the household or something like that, where you feel like you have to go along with whatever they're doing. So
yeah. So thank you for all you're doing, Nicole. It really is so helpful.
You're welcome, and thank you. I'm going to be having a virtual party on next week.
I know.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. So, it's going to be 5 years since my surgery, and I'm just going to have a party with everyone who's been following my journey, and you're going to get to meet a couple of people, maybe more, who knows, who have had the surgery because of my article and my advocacy work, and we're going to get to say hello and see how they're progressing and hear about their stories. And I thought it would be fun,
It will be, and it's great that you're doing that, Nicole.
Aww, thank you.
Awareness.
So what's next for you, Kathy?
What's next? Well, I as you know, Nicole, I have my material that I do on teaching people about dating and relationships, and I'm looking at trying to get that out in other ways, like maybe through an ebook and different formats.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, and then I do want to get on board with a TED Talk because
yeah, that's something is kind of on my bucket list too. Ryan gave one.
He did.
Yeah, he's waiting for it to come out, so I'm gonna share it, but it hasn't come out yet. And I know somebody else in the CP community, he gave one, and apparently I think it takes about a month after people give a talk for it to be released. So, yeah, you know, you definitely, have you applied?
No, I haven't even looked into it. Part of my busy life, I just needed to schedule it, but I would like to do one just about what, as you know, years ago I did a fire walk.
Yeah.
A fire walk, and what that taught me about living with cerebral palsy.
Yeah, and why don't you tell people about your book and where they could get it?
Okay, hang on.
Oh, good. She's gonna show it.
Another thing I just had the app to do. My phone is yelling at me that the battery is running.
Oh, okay.
But years ago, and for those interruptions, that I actually wrote a book.
It's a great book, everybody. It's fabulous.
Years ago, I had opportunity to take a real fire walk, walking out hot coals.
Wow.
And I was terrified, as anyone would be. But I was more terrified of actually doing it and falling on my face and, you know, burning my face. The action with my feet, I didn't want my face to burn. For anyone who hasn't done a fire walk or will do one, there is actually a very serious ceremony to it, because they want people to be very thoughtful and very intentional about doing a fire walk. So I announced with a group of people, and people began to do the fire walk, and I would see the look of total joy in their faces when they did that fire walk. And I thought, oh my gosh, I want that feeling of joy. Oh, but I'm so afraid that I'm gonna hurt myself. And then I got to thinking about how I was in my late 20s at that point in my life. And now, you know, because I have CP, I have lived with a lot of fear about falling, about swallowing because I can't swallowing issues, about people accepting me, on and on. And I said to myself, you know what? I want the experience of doing this more than the fear of not doing it. So once I had that clarity, I knew I could do the fire walk without burning myself. And I think it's a representative of life with any disability. That, you know, it'd be really hard to live life with a disability. You focus on the experience you want to have rather than the fear of what could happen, the fear of people judging you, the fear of failure.
It's true. And everybody goes through that. You know, we all have doubts and fears, and it's just, you know, it's just how you're willing to overcome them and how much work you're willing to do on yourself to be able to overcome your fears, whatever they may be.
Right, exactly.
This is so much fun. Thank you, Kathy.
And thank you, Nicole. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. You're such a great interviewer.
Oh, thank you. Let everybody know again where they can find your website and where they can find you on social media too.
Disabilities.com, and I'll put a link in the comments.
I'll put it in I'm gonna put it in now.
And also I tend to only hang out on Facebook and Instagram. And the Instagram, it's the reading abilities. And on Twitter, I'm reading ability. I only have one ability on Twitter.
I just put your website in the comments. But just in case you didn't know, Instagram just recently allowed people to put hashtags in their profile.
Yes, I saw that.
And I changed mine, so hey, hopefully that helps, right?
Yeah.
So I put the link to your website in the comments. And guys, don't forget, Kathy has a free download on healthy sexual relationships.
Healthy sexuality and relationships.
Right. And I'll put the link in there too. But go visit her website. There's a lot of information. And please go to her Facebook page and like it. Like it.
Thank you, everyone. It was so good to see so many people and friends of mine. I really want to shout out to you guys.
Yeah, that's great. I want to say hi to Maria, Aaron, Susan, Shannon, Luann, Amy, Tara. Tara says hi from Shreveport, Louisiana. She's a woman living with cerebral palsy. And hi to my friend Tara. So yeah, you know, I've been looking through the comments. There really aren't any specific questions. People are just saying hi and thanking us for what we're doing, and they're really enjoying the information that we provided. So I hope they go to your website to learn more and visit your page. And guys, like I always say, please share this out, because the more people who can join the conversation, that's where we get that strength in numbers, which is what we need.
Thank you.
Do you have a final word, Kathy?
Pardon?
Do you have a final word?
Oh, I just want to thank you. I want to wish everyone a happy CP Awareness Day. And the best thing you can do on Sunday is indeed just to live your life. I am actually taking the day and having lunch with a couple of girlfriends. And
nice.
You know, anything you can do to live life like that is great CP awareness.
That's right. And wear green and post a picture of you with your girlfriends.
You know what? I look terrible in green. I just look good.
You know, I wish they would have chosen another color, because like green is only for leprechauns and St. Patrick's Day. I mean, you know, who has all this green anyway?
I know. Why didn't they choose like lavender?
Exactly.
But I will take a picture.
Good. I look forward to seeing it. Love you, Kathy. Thank you for joining me.
Great to see you, Nicole. Take care.
Stay warm. Bye.
Okay.